A mouse with AI features. Does that even make sense? Let's have a look. Dave Taylor here, and we live in a world that's increasingly being defined on whether or not AI features can be added. So, music, TVs, utilities, appliances, you name it. Someone's trying to figure out how to integrate all of that great AI goodness into that particular thing. Now, some peripherals and devices you'd think, well, there's not much you can do with that, but there's always a way. And that's what this is. This is the Thinkkeen Wireless AI Mouse. And you can see right off the bat that there's a big AI button on the front. So the idea is that you install its driver, and now you have a way to work with ChatGPT from OpenAI through these buttons directly. So while you're working, you can tap and click and interact with that smart assistant while you're not even having to take your hands off the mouse. So it's a super interesting idea, but let's start with the mouse itself. So it is both 2.4 gigahertz and a 2-channel Bluetooth. The 2.4 gigahertz, if you want to use that, there is a dongle hidden in the mouse. You just put it here so it's in storage. On the back, there's a button that lets you choose between 2.4 gigahertz or Bluetooth 1 or Bluetooth 2. Why does it have 2 Bluetooth channels? So you can use it with 2 different computers. So it's actually a pretty logical idea. And it is an optical mouse, and you can see there's an on-off button on the bottom. So I'm going to turn this one on. And then it's looking for the ability to pair with my Mac computer, but I'm not going to get there yet. So I want to talk just a little more about it. It has a built-in microphone. How's that for surprising? So you can actually talk to your mouse, and then one of the great features is it can actually turn text or voice into text. So if you're sitting there and you're poised to leave a witty comment on a YouTube video, if that's what you do, then you can literally click to get into that input box and then just tap on this and just start talking. So in addition to that big AI button on the front, on the side, you'll notice there are 2 more buttons, one labeled M and one with a microphone. So it's AI and voice and screenshots, but you can actually customize what each of those does. It works with Mac or PC. The Mac experience has a couple of rough edges, but that's okay. It does seem to work. In fact, let me just jump into a demo so you can see some of the cool things it can do. I'm using my mouse on the Mac, and we can start by going to System Settings, and I'm using the scroll wheel here, which is so nice. And on mouse, so you can see here that I have some level of controls in macOS itself. It's much more interesting when you go off the menu bar and launch their app. So now you can see all of the different key bindings I have. So the voice access button is the one that's with the microphone, and you can see that I can choose quite a lot of different things. And then there's a short and a long press is different. So I can do voice input, the translation button, which is that M, not sure why it has the letter M on it, and then the AI button on the front, and then you can adjust the DPI. So 2400 DPI feels like a lot for my Mac. This will slow it down a little bit, and there we go. So, and then you get into smart settings and software management, and you can do some personalization, but again, really, this is just intended to be a straightforward interaction with their version of ChatGPT. So I'm going to close this, and I'm going to click the AI button. And now you can see I'm in a new chat. So I can go click down here, and then I'm going to click on the microphone and say, how far away is Okinawa, Japan from Denver, Colorado? And that was a long click, so now I'm going to do a short click, which should send an enter. And there we go. So Not the most complex question that I have asked, but that's okay. So we can try a different feature. So I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to say, create a picture of a cat on a bicycle. And so here's where it's a little frustrating. I'll talk about this again in a minute, but why they've decided to silo the different features in ChatGPT is a little bit puzzling. But I can go over here and I can go to AI drawing and I can try again. A picture of a cat on a bicycle. All right, that's pretty cute. Let's try making a modification to it. Make it photorealistic. And we'll see if the picture changes. And I'm going to resize this window, hoping that I can see the full image simultaneously. So ChatGPT is not rocketing along. Sometimes it does get pretty busy. And notice here that you have a new chat feature, so you can just start afresh, and you can see AI Assistant, which is sort of the default view. And then there's PowerPoint. This is for presentations, drawings, helping you with writing. You can do mind maps. You can create data tables and image analysis. What happened here? Oh, I guess make it photorealistic got it a little confused. So it seems to be designed so that it explicitly doesn't carry along history, which is not unreasonable. Let's go to writing, and I'll try create a letter of recommendation for a high school student applying to college from a college science teacher, and ensure that it's no more than 2 sentences long. Now, I probably should say high school science teacher, so let's change that. And I'm actually going to use my keyboard, but that's okay, because now we're just going to submit it. And okay, so it's telling me about how to do it. But what I want to do is I want to generate main text. So there's a bit of a learning curve here, because it apparently completely ignores, good Lord. It completely ignores my no more than 2 sentences. This is the world's longest recommendation letter. And I love how it just makes things up. They're an active member of the science club. How do they know that? And how do they know science club is into robotics and environmental science? So this is very typical AI, but that's okay. It's, a little bit of a learning curve to figure out how to use it. That is not a huge problem. Where we get back here is through device settings, and then I can also go to overall settings. So you can change the font size and stuff in settings, which is nice. You can also clear the cache to make sure it really does start over. And then we get here, and now we're in history, but we'll go back here, go back to assistant. And here I can do things like, again, I can try translate the phrase good morning into Korean. And we can do translations here, among other things. So, Johyun Achim. I'm sure I am absolutely mauling that. But that's how it works. It really is pretty interesting. I have to say, I'm kind of used to using my MacBook Pro with the trackpad, so using a mouse at all is a slightly different experience. PC users much more frequently are using mice, especially on a desktop computer, and having all this AI functionality right at your fingertips is pretty helpful. It does include ChatGPT, and it's using the GPT-4 model right now, so that's actually pretty good. Comes with instructions, comes with a little charging cable, because on the on the front, there's a USB port, so you charge it. and it runs about 2 weeks on a charge, assuming you're using it a lot. If you're only using it on occasion, then obviously that battery is going to last longer. And so let's talk about the experience. And it's pretty good, actually. I would kind of like it to hook into my existing GPT or ChatGPT Plus, because I pay for a higher level of service, but it uses its own sort of interface because the ChatGPT has its own API. So that's what they're using, which is fine. I wish they had integrated it a little more, so when I was in voice input mode, I could ask it to create a picture without having to actually go over to the create image section. That seems like something where it's great that they've pulled those features out so you remember they're there, but it might be nice to still allow you to do whatever you want wherever you are, just for sort of simplicity. One of the other things I noticed that was interesting was that I translate a lot English-Spanish, but it doesn't list Spanish as one of the languages, and I can't really understand why. In fact, the order of languages is kind of inexplicable unless that it's all the language names in Chinese, and that's how they've sorted it. And so when they've been converted to English for English users, it's not in alphabetical order. So that's an easy one to fix. That could be a firmware fix that might just happen. I might not even notice, and suddenly Spanish is there. But still, the whole idea is really cool in as terms of like just being a mouse. It's a very nice mouse. It has a very nice feel. It's sort of this soft, plasticky feel to it, but in a good way. I don't mean plasticky in a bad way. And the scroll wheel and everything, certainly for Mac users, this is a whole different experience than like the Apple Magic Mouse, where it is a sleek piece of metal and it has no functions. It just magically does the right thing. It's kind of nice to actually have buttons and scroll wheels and different things you can click on. And obviously it's an ergonomic design. I feel like this company comes from a heritage of making really nice PC mice, and they've just added on all of this AI functionality by just taking a mouse that had programmable buttons and saying, hey, okay, let's do this. And then of course the magic happens in the driver. So all in all, it's a pretty interesting solution. But the real question is, will I continue to use it to interface and interact with my AI software? And I kind of feel like I've already learned to use on my Mac. I have, it's Option Spacebar, just brings up ChatGPT. And in that window, I can then do whatever I want. I can translate things. I can upload photos and have them translated. I can go and have it create images, all of that. And it has memory. Now, memory comes with privacy issues because, OpenAI is learning more and more and more about me, but I'm okay with that because it makes me more and more efficient. So down the road, maybe they could have an option where you have this and it actually just hooks into whatever AI client you want. You might be a Copilot user, you might prefer Gemini, you might be into Perplexity or Claude. All of those are good options. This should support that. But in terms of whether this is worth getting over and above just a regular mouse, well, that's up to you. I don't feel like they have much of a surcharge or premium for these functions. So what you're really getting is a really nice mouse with really good functionality and highly programmable keys in their little AI universe. Might that change down the road? Who knows? We'll have to see. Anyway, that's what I got. I am going to ask you to subscribe to my channel before I get into the price. So click or tap on that subscribe button, hit that bell icon for notifications of my new content, please. And if you found this of value, I always appreciate a thumbs up. Excellent. As I said earlier, this is the Thinkkeen Wireless AI Mouse. It comes in black or white. I'll let you figure out which color this is. And it is $89.99 at thinkkeenai.com. That's not a bad price for a mouse with this level of functionality and design. It feels like it's going to last a decade easily. Do you need the AI features? That's sort of the core question here, but at least now you know what it does. So that's what I got. I'm going to go back to what I was working on. So I'll catch you in my next video.